Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. We're at episode number 1574, and if you happen to be catching the video version of this, or actually I guess I should say if you're catching the audio version and you're hearing me talk about this, well, it's because I'm saying it for the video version. It's a rather chilly here in the studio, which explains why I'm wearing the winter hat here. Either that or my hair is beyond messed up and just not ready for camera time, even though this is the time when the podcast has to get recorded. So you decide which of the two is the actual truth. And be that as it may, today we're going to continue our look at a couple of stories that got by us and that we never talked about here on the podcast. And today we're going to talk about the Cassian and K-2SO story that was released by Marvel Comics. And this has been a while, so spoiler alert, you know, you don't really need it, but there it is all the same. We're going to talk about the 7 top takeaways from the Cassian and K-2SO one-shot. First of all, your top takeaway, your big top takeaway from this whole thing is that this is actually the story. This is the one. This is how Cassian and K-2SO actually got together. This is how they met. This is how everything that started their relationship went down. And so this is actually a rather important story as far as these things go. And we'll talk about the story as we go through the top takeaways here. Your second top takeaway is what Cassian's mission is. Cassian is sent on a mission by General Draven to acquire some security protocols, some new Imperial security protocols. And Cassian is a source that has said that there is a decommissioned Imperial cruiser that has fallen into private hands, and that is how they're managing to be able to break into the storage bay where this place, where this decommissioned cruiser is being held, and try to extract Imperial security protocols from it. Now, of course, nothing goes as planned, and otherwise there wouldn't be any conflict or drama or anything like that. So, unfortunately, the mission goes awry. And your third top takeaway is that there is a new planetary reveal here. This situation is happening on the planet, all right, here we go, Wekaco, or Wesico, W-E-C-A-C-O-E. And this planet is described as a backwater and a nowhere planet, although its actual location is less than that, or more than that. It's more than that, actually, is what I meant to say. It's in the Colonies region of the galaxy, and the Colonies region is in between the core worlds and the inner rim. So, I mean, that's still significant, and according to Wikipedia, Colonies planets tend to be on some very significant trade routes, and the planets themselves tend to be very wealthy. Cato Nemoidia is one planet that is within the Colonies region. That's, of course, where the Nemoidians from the Phantom Menace and so on from the prequel trilogy come from. Additionally, Karita is in the Colonies. That is a planet where there was an Imperial Academy. Yes, where Han Solo did his Imperial Academy training, and also, coincidentally, the same planet on which Cassian Andor's father, who had been protesting against militaristic expansion, was killed in a protest in something like 20 BBY, I believe it was. Also, Deveron, a planet which was featured in the novel Weapon of a Jedi, where Luke Skywalker is starting to learn about the Force after the Battle of Yavin. That's another Colonies planet, too, just to give you an idea of some significant planets in the Colonies region. Now, your fourth top takeaway has to do with a pair of rebel spies that are introduced for the first time, K-2SO and Rismor, who are both unidentified aliens at this point. We don't know what species they are. And fascinatingly, they communicate only by scent. They change the chemicals in the air around them in order to communicate with each other, according to Cassian. And this actually lends itself to some very comedic moments where Cassian says to himself, sometimes I pick up a scent of ozone and realize, oh, they're having a conversation. Or he says something like, either that's raw sewage or you're talking behind my back. And, he says like, hey, are you getting anything yet? And he smells something. And he's like, I don't know what that odor is, but I think it translates to shut up. So some very deft comic moments based on scent communication, which is a rather unusual thing, but hey, it works out well. And they're there to gather the elusive Imperial intel. They're apparently very good at this, according to General Draven, who gets name-checked in this thing. But they're not the ones who ultimately acquire that intel. It turns out that Cassian is, because of our fifth top takeaway, the fact that he catches and reprograms K-2SO on the fly, and there's supposed to be a kill switch in the neck of the KX security droids. It turns out that it has been moved with newer models like K-2SO, and the way the panels are drawn, the first couple of times the kill switch gets triggered by the twins, K-2SO and Rizmor, while Cassian is being choked by K-2SO. The way it's drawn, it looks like it's not in the neck, but it might be in the pelvic region, just because the way they're pointing, and it's weird, and you're, wondering what the heck. And Cassian says it's all the way down there now, and ultimately we find out that it's actually in the lower back, because there is one last situation where K-2SO is choking Cassian, and Cassian has to reach around K-2SO's body, and you see that he's reaching not into his pelvic region, but in his lower back. Now, your sixth top takeaway has to do with the fact that this planet, Wesiko, however you say it, actually isn't supposed to have a large Imperial presence, according to Cassian, but it turns out that it does, and yet we are not told why. So this remains a bit of a mystery, why there is such a large Imperial presence on a planet that Cassian describes both as a backwater and as a nowhere planet. And he might actually know, considering that he was in planets in and around that area, for a significant chunk of his life, apparently, and even back to when he was a kid. So anyway, there is a significant Imperial presence there, and they figure out that he's there. And there's a fantastic scene where, after they've initially reprogrammed K-2SO, they're trying to get back to their ship, and a stormtrooper stops them and says, "Where are you going?" And K-2SO says, "I'm taking these 3 rebel spies back to their ship." And the stormtrooper goes, "You're what?" And naturally, that's when the fighting ensues. So K-2SO absolutely has not learned to lie at this point, and you can hear Alan Tudyk's voice in your head as you're reading this, and so it's very well done. And so ultimately they have to steal another ship to be able to get off the planet. And your seventh and final takeaway is that the aliens K-2SO and Rizmor actually draw the Imperials off and manage to get them to get away from Cassian and K2 so that they can steal a ship and get out of there, but not before telling Cassian that the droid has all the Imperial security protocols that he needs, that he doesn't have to go back to that decommissioned cruiser that was in the big storage bay to get what he's looking for, that just taking K-2SO with him will take care of exactly what they need. So as we leave the story, K2 and Cassian are heading back to the Rebel base so that way they can extract Imperial security protocols from K-2SO, and also probably take some time to do a little bit more thorough reprogramming on him so that he isn't filled with the desire to either detain Cassian or terminate his life, as he is wont to do in many different scenes in this one shot. And so K-2SO and Rizmor are still loose and free and have managed to blend into a crowd, and so they are still operating for the Rebel Alliance as far as we know. And Cassian and K2 make it away to go off onto other adventures, and that is the deal with the Cassian and K-2SO one-shot, and that is the deal with this episode in general. And I hope you will subscribe. If you're not subscribing already, I hope you'll consider supporting the show at patreon.com/SW7x7 also. And it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2018, Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it!